Welcome everyone. It's a real pleasure for us to be here and to be part of this joint webinar with our partners, WSO2. First of all, let me introduce you to Ruben and Enzo, who will be the technical speakers for today. So, welcome, guys.
Thank you, and thank you everyone who is joining this webinar.
Thank you. Right, perfect. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Okay, I could go ahead and start. Well, I'm Ruben Lorenzo. I'm a program manager here at Belatrix, and I'm in charge of the WSO2 Partnership Initiative in a professional services point of view. And together with Enzo, we are forming a team of specialists that are starting to apply this technology, and together with a bigger team, of course, as well. So Enzo, would you like to introduce yourself? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Enzo Capa. I am the WSO2 developer of this team. I'm in charge of the actual development. In this case, I was the lead developer in this project. And I'm also an ESB and API manager, certified developer for the WSO2 technologies.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect. Just a quick heads up for those of you who are not familiar with Belatrix. We're a software product development company. We're located in South America. We have development centers in Argentina in 2 places, Buenos Aires and Mendoza. And we also have development centers in Lima, Peru. And we have presence as well in states, specifically New York, Miami, and San Francisco. I won't bore you with more details about the company, but let me share that what we're going to present today is a success story of Belatrix working together with a company, implementing WSO2 middleware platform products in order to achieve new goals and to increase the success rate of the company. So with that said, let me jump to the first question in order to get this started. Ruben, Enzo, why did this company from the retail sector, decided to implement WSO2 middleware platform?
Okay, I could take that. Well, the biggest thing that proved that we were ready to start this is our specialization mostly on the WSO2 products, mainly with all the training that has been provided to WSO2 as a partner to us, and then some other implementations we made with the tools in some Belatrix products and some external clients as well. And of course, in addition to that, there are a lot of benefits that WSO2 middleware implements that we were really grateful to have. As a middleware platform, WSO2 implements a rapid innovation, integrating a lot of open source tools with the key one that is Apache in between the rest of the open source projects. Also providing affordability, not having to pay heavy licensing costs, giving also visibility on the products to how they operate, let's say under the hood. Anyone with good skills on Java could go there and make modifications and extend the open source code to meet the requirements for the project. And also, well, the WSO tools are built over a composable and cohesive platform, integrating these open source projects I mentioned prior. So the tools that you probably already know, it's covering around 20 products in a lot of categories of the SOA architecture, And specifically for this project, we used ESB and DSS, Enterprise Service Bus, and Data Service Server to implement into the architecture for the integration solution. And another thing why this retail company decided to implement WSO2 was the accessibility to service provider. Belatrix, in this case, as Fernando mentioned, became a more or less 1.5 years ago, a service provided with the additional value that Belatrix has is has been implementing professional services for around 12 years now. Plus, well, all of the knowledge acquired and certifications acquired around WSO2 products. And the third reason why this company implemented WSO2 is also some business references. Like for some of the clients, they implement similar infrastructure like eBay, Boeing, in between other case studies from WSO2. So I hope that answers the question.
Great answer. That's a great answer. Yeah. So, but in terms of benefits, what do you think were the business and technology benefits they were aiming for?
Okay, I will separate that in 4 main benefits or technologies for business and technology. I'm sorry. The first one is related with the main integration issues this company had related to customers and products integration. The case here is making innovative connection through the organization systems, getting the connection seamless, fluid, and rapid, and also taking less engineering resources and integration time. All of that is really provided by the WSO2 tools that integrated the architecture. Let's talk about, well, any other benefits. Not all of them were applied, or all of the applications, but mainly security login monitoring was implemented through these tools and enabled as well. So I would say that was the main benefit they acquired, okay, the big integration through ESB mainly. Then performance improvements, as I said, based on some references like eBay. eBay made a great study on that, so that was the basis for this company to decide to use ESB as the most performant middleware solution for integration. Then, well, this implementation also ensure the speed and the reliability needed for this retail company on the online stores and all the communication with their customers. The third benefit they acquired, so, well, as mentioned in the prior question, the low cost related to open source. Just as almost every open source tool, the cost goes through the support they give, but then you can have that implemented even into production without costs. But of course, the production support cost is something that needs to be implemented somehow. And, well, as said, if affordability by not having to pay heavy licensing costs like other licensed tools for integration, that's another key point and benefit. And finally, well, the possibility to increase the sales by accessing all the integrated information through customers and products across the systems. So I think those were the main points there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, then customer products integration, performance improvements, lower cost and the ability to work with open source products and increase sales, those are the main benefits, as you mentioned. But it's an open source platform. Why then this organization decided to work with a service provider rather than implementing it themselves?
Okay, that's a very good point. First, and as it was mentioned as well, the accessibility to providers, to WSO2 providers like Belatrix, that we were in fact recommended by WSO2 itself to run into this project. That's one of the points. Then, of course, the learning curve is something critical here, as we already have the knowledge of the tools and how they work and how we need and we have to implement it. Then it's really much faster, and that was one of the key points of this project. The project timeline was really really encouraging, and we finally made it very well. And then another advantages of working with us is that we are a nearshore company with the U.S., so we have the chance to overlap the working time with the company resources there in the U.S. And also we were able to work in our time flexibility to ensure we were progressing in the best way as possible. We also, another advantage of working with the service provider like us was having consultants on site for a period of time, mostly on the let's say requirements gathering phase and also architecture design phase. And then we had the chance to have a bigger team working as well off-site and providing agile communication with the client during the project implementation. So I think, and well, finally, as said, the proposed milestones were really tied to time, and then we applied the best quality solution that was requested. So.
Okay, sounds good. And let's do a quick stop here, and let me share with everyone, with our audience, that you can use the box, the chat feature in GoToMeeting to send us questions, and we'll be replying them at the end of the webinar. You can also send us your question using Twitter. We're using the hashtag digitalservices2015. So any of those channels are good for us to collect your questions, and we'll be answering them at the end of the webinar. Going back to the case study, would you be so kind to explain a little bit the implementation process? I mean, how long did it take? How many people worked on it? And actually, how complicated was it?
Yes, I think that question is for me. The project involved different teams, 4 of them, and each of them with different responsibilities, but all of them depending on the other ones in regards to decisions and artifacts development. In total, we were around 12 people working on the project, distributed on small teams on different locations and different time zones. So you can infer from that the complexity of the project and the kind of challenges that we faced. But let's leave the challenges for later, and let's discuss more about the implementation process. We started with a pre-elaborated and agreed document with a basic description of the scope of the project. According to the original plan, we had 3 weeks for development and 1 for UAT. The plan was, the times were too tight. The project was complex, so it was difficult. It looked difficult at the beginning. From the infrastructure point of view, we had two different WSO2 products, a data services server. It was the responsibility of that component was to expose data as a service from an Oracle Business Suite component or a database, and an enterprise service bus with the responsibility of connecting these services and a CRM system, Salesforce, using the Salesforce connector from WSO2. You can see also a legacy system there. We had to connect the legacy system, and it was mainly implemented in the Oracle Business Suite. And we also had plans to implement the JMS broker in order to add reliability to this implementation. We also had two different environments, production and development. Due to the time constraints of the project, we agreed to use prod for the development until the code hit the live environment. So at that point, we started to use development for the real development, and but prod was already ready, yes, for the to go live. We just had to change a couple of configurations like usernames or endpoints. Finally, for the assets development, we used the WSO2 Development Studio. It worked very well, and we used Subversion to keep track of the changes.
Okay, great. Perfect. Would you say that you face any specific challenges during implementation? And I guess the answer is yes, but if so, how did you overcome them?
Well, I already said something about that. One of the biggest challenges was about the team structure. We were in different locations, different time zones, different responsibilities, and each team had deliverables and different milestones, and we have to get that on sync for 4 weeks. We didn't have too much time to discuss and make plans. So, but fortunately, we had the experience in Belatrix with these kind of scenarios. So the first step that we took was an agile approach for the project organizations, frequent meetings, constant communication, shared documents, and so on. But for the final phase of the project, mainly for UAT, we traveled to the customer's headquarters, and that allowed us to do the final tuning in an efficient manner with everybody on the same group. Another important challenge were the deadlines. Actually, it was a big challenge. At the beginning, it looked like the time frame was too short, and during the development, we had moments when we had to push a little bit more in order to make it. But the issue was always related to the requirements, how the legacy system worked, because it was not clear for us, and there was no expert on the customer side for that. And also the decision taking regarding what should be done versus what can really be done. But the WSO2 stack didn't put on any limitation on us, and I think it was one of the big reasons of the success of the project. The WSO2 stack worked very well, and it allows us to do our development without any issues. And I think one more challenge that I can list were the requirement changes during the development. I already told you that I am a developer, so I really don't like the requirement changes. But I also know that these something that just happens. You cannot deal with the changes. It's going to happen. Maybe in this case it was a little too noticeable, but the combination of the agile approach that we took from the very beginning, good decisions in the early design phases of the project, and without any doubt, the flexibility of the WSO2 products allowed us to overcome these issues without many major problems.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's a great explanation. Anything else you would like to add, Ruben, in terms of challenges?
No, probably related with the last one that Enzo mentioned. I wants to reinforce that even that our developers and integration engineers are really flexible and have a great understanding of client needs. So um, it was really running smoothly once the client redefined things, and then also we got an agreement on the times that those changes would take. So I think I just wanted to add that our flexibility and also, of course, the quick turnarounds you can do as developers using WSO2 applications. So.
Okay, thank you. And I guess that now that we have an overall idea of how the work was done and what were the challenges you faced, a third question will be how Belatrix and the company measured success of the project. I mean, was there an agreement before, or what was the deal?
Yes, of course, success of the project was based on the main project objective, that was the integration, full integration through from Salesforce across to Oracle Business and the other way around through using WSO2 integration tools. And that was accomplished on times and went live the same day that was proposed the first day of the project. So I think that was the biggest success. As we all know that for this kind of project with several teams, with different way of work, and with a minimal amount of time to implement it, it's something really, really valuable. So I think that was the complete success for this retail company implemented the project. And for us, Belatrix, it's one of the key things, and for the client as well, it was the partnerships and the good relationships with them, having potential new projects to be implemented, and partnerships all across the accounts involved and the clients involved on this project. So that was a really positive point for Belatrix. And as mentioned before, we gathered a lot of additional experience working on site with the client during development phase with one of our partners company in the project, and also during the user acceptance testing phase on the client offices. So I think, as mentioned, the interactions and the quick implementations and turnaround and with the agile communication were key points to the success of the project. And finally, and I think not less important, was the level of confidence that the client acquire or shown to Belatrix during a really small period of time. They were really happy working with us and how we moved forward, implemented the project. So they were very confident on us. I think those could be the successful keys for this project.
Okay, so this project is now over, right?
this process is now implemented in production and working as expected. So that's great.
Perfect.
That was what we were looking for. So
Great, perfect. Let's do a quick time check. We have a few more topics to cover, and then we'll start with the questions. We've received a few so far, so let's save some time for those questions. In terms specifically, and maybe this is not only related to this project, but overall, what advice would you give to companies considering using WSO2's platform?
okay, a few things were mentioned, but in between the advantages of providing the WSO2 full solution, WSO2 can be flexible, as much flexible as to be implemented on premise, let's say on site for the different clients, or also provide the cloud services that could provide all the integration that companies may need. Related to a quick project implementation, we suggest to start with the quick start consultancy. That is an entire week where we send our integration engineers and architect to interact with the client and reveal the use cases that the client wants to implement, and go through the proposed architecture. We think and we are sure will give the right solution for the client. And finally, during that week, we made a prototype of the implementation of this case study, just to reveal how good it worked. Then, also another phase that was involved during the implementation, that like on this project or any other project, was all the development support of the implementation and also consultancy during that period of time prior the project goes live. Okay, and all of that, and resuming the advantages, you will have a full solution ensuring integration, performance, IoT, big data, and so on, depending what you need specifically for your business. So I think those are the key points of the advantages.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a very great description. So I think that that covers most of the content for today. So I think we'll next we'll go to the Q&A session, and we've received a few questions from the audience. Let's start with this one. Here someone is asking, he said you used the word connector, that you used a connector for Salesforce integration. And the question is, what does that mean, and what are the benefits of using that connector?
Yes, I think I can take that question. Connector is something that you can plug into the ESB, the WSO2 Enterprise Service Bus, and a connector allows you to consume easily different services. In the case of Salesforce, you can use the Salesforce API without having to deal with the complexity of that. For example, you have to create a session to make the web service calls. So the connector will hide that complexity, and you can use this Salesforce API from the ESB as a normal, or as a simple component of the ESB, as a simple mediator using the ESB terminology. So the benefits are that are the benefits. It's a lot more easy to use a connector than using the real API for Salesforce in this case.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Enzo. And next question is actually connected to this one. And it says, besides Salesforce, is it possible to integrate WSO2 with other popular platforms? He mentions Jira as an example.
Oh yes, you have lots of connectors for different scenarios. You have for Facebook, for Flickr, for Jira, for Redmine. You have a lot of connectors for different integration scenarios. Even if there is no connector, you can build your own because it's open source. You can download the existing connectors. You can see the source code. You can modify it. You can do what you want, but you can also ask WSO2 to build a specific connector if you need it to. So that is one of the good things about open source. It's open, right?
Exactly.
So yes, there are lots of connectors there.
Perfect. I guess that answers that question. There's another one here that says, and I guess the answer is obvious, but can you apply agile methodologies to develop projects based on these technologies?
I can go with that,
Yeah.
Enzo, if you want. Okay. The answer is yes. Of course, it depends a lot which one of the agile technologies do you want to use, depending on the let's say the amount of time you need to implement the project. Okay, if it is a really quick project, for instance, of let's say 2 or 3 weeks of implementations plus UAT, like this was, we use mix in between Scrum and Kanban, say Scrumban, to apply, since we needed some really quick turnarounds on a daily basis, and with the changes of priority, we needed to handle that very well. And on the other hand, we used some of the Scrum tools like the daily stand-ups and also planning sessions to coordinate and made our commitment for the implementation of the project. So the answer is yes.
Yes. It depends on the type of project, but yeah, it's completely feasible, right?
Yeah, it's totally feasible to apply agile methodologies, yes.
Right. Good. Then let's jump to our final question for today. And this one says, WSO2 is open source, but do they provide some kind of support during the development or production phases?
Okay, and so do you want me to take that?
Yes, please do it.
Okay, very good. Answer is yes. Well, like I mentioned during the advantages, we as a partner or even WSO2 engineers could be involved during the development process, like giving development support specifically to integrate the current systems and applications, and also legacy systems, as was mentioned by Enzo, all together get that integrated and working properly. And also there are some consultancy services that are not really involved to development itself, but has something to do with that as well. Plus, once you get a contract with WSO2, you get the production support that is needed to ensure that anything that makes your project to scale during production could be attended by WSO2 itself.
Mm-hmm. So. Okay, great. Thank you, Enzo. Thank you, Ruben. You've shared great content today. I think this case study is really valuable, specifically for people or companies wanting to implement this type of solutions in the retail industry. As Coach Glenn said, we'll share the slides and the recording of the presentation later in the week. So from our side, that will be it for today. I really appreciate your attention and being here with us. Have a great day.